There are 18 intelligence agencies in the United States. The CIA, the NSA, the Defense Intelligence Agency. Together, they employ hundreds of thousands of people. They intercept communications, track adversaries, protect nuclear secrets, and brief the president every single morning on the most dangerous threats facing this country. The person who sits above all of them, who coordinates every piece of intelligence flowing into the White House, is the Director of National Intelligence. After the September 11 attacks, Congress created this position for one specific reason: to make sure the most powerful intelligence apparatus in the world is led by someone with deep, proven expertise in national security. Congress was so serious about this that they wrote it into the law. Any nominee for Director of National Intelligence, the statute reads, shall have extensive national security expertise. On June 2, 2026, Donald Trump announced his new acting Director of National Intelligence on social media. His name is Bill Pulte. He is 38 years old. His background is in housing. He runs Fannie Mae. He has zero intelligence experience. Welcome to Hidden Agenda. This is what the capture of American institutions looks like in real time. To understand why this appointment is so alarming, you need to understand who Bill Pulte actually is. He is the grandson of William Pulte, the founder of Pulte Group, one of the largest home building companies in America. He inherited a fortune estimated at over $100 million. He built his public profile through social media philanthropy, posting videos of himself handing cash to strangers on Twitter, building a following of millions. Trump noticed, and in 2025, he appointed Pulte to run the Federal Housing Finance Agency, the regulator overseeing Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac, the two government-sponsored enterprises that backstop $10 trillion in mortgage markets. That is where Pulte's expertise begins and ends: housing, mortgages, real estate. But here is what Pulte has spent his time at FHFA actually doing. He tried to have Federal Reserve Governor Lisa Cook fired, the same Lisa Cook who remains under criminal investigation. He submitted a criminal referral against New York Attorney General Letitia James over a mortgage she obtained in 2020, allegations that led to her indictment in October, an indictment that was later dismissed when a federal judge ruled the prosecutor who brought it was invalidly appointed. He has been, as CNN described it, a leading figure in Trump's retribution campaign. Not an intelligence professional, not a national security expert, a political attack dog. And now Trump has handed him the keys to 18 intelligence agencies. The stakes here cannot be overstated. The Director of National Intelligence does not just attend briefings. This is the official who oversees the President's daily brief, the most sensitive intelligence document produced by the United States government, delivered every morning to the President of the United States. The DNI coordinates all 18 intelligence agencies. That means the CIA's covert operations, the NSA's signals intelligence programs, the Defense Intelligence Agency's military assessments. Every piece of information about what America's adversaries are planning, Russia, China, Iran, North Korea, flows through this office. The DNI also manages America's relationships with allied intelligence services. The Five Eyes partnership with Britain, Canada, Australia, and New Zealand. NATO intelligence sharing. These relationships are built on decades of trust and institutional expertise. Partner agencies share information with American intelligence because they trust that the information will be handled professionally, kept secure, and used for genuine national security purposes rather than domestic political ends. The 2004 law that created this position required extensive national security expertise for a reason. The job requires understanding classification systems, source protection, covert operations law, signals intelligence protocols, and the geopolitical context of every major intelligence product. Bill Pulte's biography on the FHFA website lists experience in housing and philanthropy. Nothing else. And as acting director, he does not require Senate confirmation. He can begin immediately, today. The reaction to this appointment was immediate, and it came from both sides of the aisle. Senate Minority Leader Chuck Schumer called Pulte a partisan thug with no experience in intelligence and said the appointment would make the country less safe. Virginia Senator Mark Warner, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, put it more precisely. Virginia Senator Mark Warner, the top Democrat on the Senate Intelligence Committee, put it more precisely. He said Trump had chosen, and these are his words, an official who has demonstrated not just willingness but eagerness to use the authorities of government to pursue political retribution. But here is the part that cuts through the partisan noise. Senate Majority Leader John Thune, a Republican, Trump's own party leader in the Senate, told reporters, "We don't need a weaponized DNI. We need professionals there." Let that land for a moment. The Republican leader of the United States Senate, the man whose job it is to advance Trump's agenda on Capitol Hill, publicly said he does not want this appointment. He said he is seeking more information from the administration about their thinking. He is not endorsing it. He is questioning it. And JD Vance, the vice president, offered the administration's justification. He posted on X that Pulte will do great, citing that he recognizes that the bureaucracy of the intel community must respond to the elected leadership rather than the other way around. Read that sentence carefully. The Vice President of the United States just said the intelligence community should answer to the president, not to the law, not to security requirements, not to congressional oversight, to the elected leadership. That is not how intelligence is supposed to work. That is how it gets weaponized. This appointment does not exist in isolation. It is the latest move in a systematic pattern of replacing experienced national security professionals with political loyalists. Tulsi Gabbard, who Pulte is replacing, had her own controversy. She was a former congresswoman with no intelligence background when she was appointed. Under her tenure, she declassified documents that intelligence professionals said damaged source relationships. Now she's gone, resigning effective June 30, and her replacement has even less qualification and an even more explicit track record of using government power against Trump's political enemies. Before Gabbard, Trump had already fired or forced out career intelligence officials across the community. The acting director position itself illustrates a deliberate strategy. By using acting appointments rather than permanent nominees, Trump avoids Senate confirmation hearings where a candidate's qualifications and independence would be scrutinized publicly. Pulte can run America's intelligence apparatus indefinitely without a single senator casting a vote. And while he does, he will have access to the most sensitive intelligence in the world. He will know which foreign governments are under surveillance. He will know which Americans are being monitored, and why. He will know the identities of sources and methods that, if exposed, would end careers and end lives. This is not a housing problem. This is a national security crisis dressed up as a personnel announcement. Step back and look at what has been built over the past 17 months. The Attorney General is Trump's former personal defense lawyer. The acting director of national intelligence is a housing official whose primary qualification is a willingness to target Trump's enemies. The FBI director is Kash Patel, a man who spent years publishing a list he called the deep state enemies he intended to pursue. The inspector generals who were supposed to provide independent oversight of these agencies have been fired. The courts have been packed with loyalists, and now the intelligence apparatus, the 18 agencies that are supposed to provide objective, unvarnished assessments of threats to American national security, is being handed to a man whose demonstrated purpose is political retribution. JD Vance told you exactly what this is for. The intel community must respond to the elected leadership, not to security, not to law, not to Congress, to the president. What happens when the intelligence community answers only to the president? What happens when the president's daily brief is curated by someone whose loyalty is to the man in the Oval Office rather than to the truth? What happens when America's allies discover that the intelligence sharing relationship they have maintained for decades is now managed by a political operative? These are not hypothetical questions. They are the questions that intelligence professionals around the world are asking right now. Today, on June 2, 2026, the law says the Director of National Intelligence shall have extensive national security expertise. The law was written in 2004 by a Congress that had just watched 3,000 Americans die because intelligence agencies failed to coordinate. They wrote that requirement because they understood what happens when the most sensitive position in American security is held by someone unqualified. Bill Pulte has no national security expertise. None. And he does not need Senate confirmation to start. He is already in. Senate Majority Leader Thune said we don't need a weaponized DNI. He's right. But what Thune says does not matter anymore if what Vance says is the operating principle. The intel community must respond to elected leadership. That sentence is the hidden agenda. Not a building renovation. Not a tariff dispute. Not a legal fund. The slow, systematic replacement of every independent institution in American government with people whose only qualification is that they will do what the president says. Subscribe to Hidden Agenda, because this story started the moment Trump took office, and it is nowhere near finished.